This is pre-calc. It's problem CL10-156, and it says if sine theta is 2 root 15 over 15 and cotangent of theta is negative, then it's a three-part problem. So for part A, they want it's hard to do it this way. For part A, they're asking what is sine of 2 theta. So I had to go, and I don't have my math book with me, so I went and just Googled the formula. I know there's a formula for sine of 2 theta, and I got sine of 2 theta is 2 sine theta times cosine theta. But I already know what sine theta is because they told me sine theta was 2 root 15 over 15. So all I had to do was plug that in, but I needed cosine theta. So I know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So I knew the 2 root 15 is the opposite and the 15 is hypotenuse. And I knew I had to be in quadrant 2 because it told me that cotangent was negative. And cotangent, see, everything is positive in quadrant A, but only sine is positive in quadrant, sorry, I said quadrant A. In quadrant 1, sine is positive in quadrant 2, and everything else is negative there. And I see I have sine is positive, cotangent's negative, so I know I'm in quadrant 2. So I just did that opposite over hypotenuse, because that's what sine is, and then I used Pythagorean theorem to find out that this bottom piece right here is square root 165. You'll find that out if you do Pythagorean theorem. And then I plugged it in. Well, because cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's going to be root 165 over 15. And it's negative in this quadrant because this is the negative x-axis. So we plugged it in, and then I had to do the fraction math here. It got a little ugly. I didn't have my scientific calculator, but it turns out that you can work this out and do your fraction math. Like if you simplify this radical, and then it turns out 15 times 11 is 2475, so you can take out your anyway, you can just do this simplification here, and you end up with negative 4 root 11 over 15. So that's letter A. Letter B, they want cosine of theta over 2. So I went on the internet and I just looked up what is the formula for that, and it's 1 plus cosine theta over 2. And I know cosine theta because I just found it. Remember, we just found it. We used Pythagorean theorem and found it. So cosine theta was negative root 165 over 15. So I can just plug that in right here. And I did. And then I multiplied. I wasn't sure how to simplify it, but I saw that your book, they multiply everything by 15 to get that fraction a little bit nicer looking. So if you multiply each term by 15, that's where this comes from. And that's fine for your answer to write it that way. And then for letter C, they want secant theta. Well, secant is just cosine upside down. And remember, we found cosine, remember cosine was negative root 165 over 15, so I just flipped it upside down. But then it got a little weird because I rationalized. I multiplied on the top and the bottom by root 165. And then I ended up, then I ended up with square root 165, and then sit 165 down there, and it turns out 15 times 11 is 165, so you can reduce that fraction. And that's it.